Today I'm going to use the Katmandu for another video and convert it to single speed. It's not quite as simple as let's say an old road frame with horizontal dropouts. You can't just bang a single speed cassette on there and pull the wheel backwards into the dropouts to tension the chain. You've actually got to use a chain tensioner on these, because these have got horizontal dropouts, as have vertical. These have got vertical dropouts, much as modern road bikes. So today I'm going to do that. It's going to involve removing all the drivetrain. I'm going to change the crankset as well, because this one I can't take off the chain rings. So yeah, let's get cracking. Clearly, once everything is off, you can go ahead and put the brake levers back on and put the grips back on. And I've actually gone ahead and changed the bars on this while I was at it, because well, the old ones were really narrow and they were slightly uncomfortable for such a big bike. So yeah, put the grips back on, and then we'll get to doing the conversion parts. Okay, so first thing I'm going to put on is the chain tensioner. With these dropouts on the bike, there's no real room to tension the chain. Same with, if they were longer, actually, on this bike, it might be possible, because they're on the horizontal plane. If they're on the vertical plane as well, there's no chance you can tension the chain properly. So there's a couple of options available, well actually more than a couple. There are ones that you can get for bolted axles, which basically look like they just have a hole, an arm and then another arm, and then they just bolt to the axle itself, either on the inside or the outside, probably best on the outside. Or you can get ones for the derailleur hangers like this, which is this one. This is made by Mr. Control, apparently. It was about £15 off eBay, and when it goes on, it should keep the chain tensioned. So when it's on properly, the chain goes round and it will pull it down and keep it tensioned round. Without that, you're not going to have enough tension, the chain's going to slop around. So I'm going to fit this. This one has a little pin on the back there, which is for the tension, so that just has to go on this little nook here. So you do have to start it in the wrong position. That will go on, and then swing round into place, and that will tension your chain for you. and someone's come to visit. Where are you going? Okay, so next thing I'm going to tackle is the cassette. Obviously with normal, I say normal, they're old now. With the screw-on type freewheels, you could potentially just screw your old one off and screw your new one on. You might have to play around with adjusting the axle length, axle spacing and dishing of the wheel, maybe. But with a cassette, it's a bit different. Yeah, that's alright, that's nice and loose. Tool, chain whip, bada bing, bada boom. And then I have this little kit here. There are so many of these kits on eBay. They're just a standard cassette kit, cassette conversion kit, a single speed. They'll come in, all this packed up. They'll come in 1/8 inch size. They'll come in normal, I guess, 5/32 inch size. Different speeds to use on your chain, different prices, different materials. There's so many that you can get, but this one was a dirt cheap one from the UK, so yeah, you could probably get them even cheaper from China. It's just anodized aluminium. It's an 18 tooth. It comes with all these different spacers, so you can adjust the chain line. I doubt I'm going to need all these spacers because they will just sit over there. Yeah, then your sprocket goes on, stick another spacer on, it's going to need another spacer, and then you put your lock ring on, and Bob's your mother's brother. But before I actually do this, I should have thought in ahead. I need to actually find out the chain line. In fact, while I'm here, chain line. Chain line is obviously going to be measured from the centre of your bike. So you're going to have to do a bit of maths. You're going to have to work out where the centre point on this hub is. So you've got your over lock nut diameter from the outside of this lock nut to the outside of the other lock nut. Half of that is obviously going to be bang in the middle. But then you're going to want to know the dimension from the bang in the middle place to this cog. So just take the dimension from this lock nut here to there, take that away from your half dimension, and you've got your chain line. Simple on a single speed, absolutely simple. So for the front, what I said I'm going to do is put on a new crankset, and that is exactly what I'm going to do. You can obviously use your crankset that has removable rings. It shouldn't be a problem. You could even strip all your rings off that crankset and put a 1/8 inch chain ring on there, as long as it matches the bolt circle diameter of that crankset. It shouldn't be too hard. For me, I didn't have that option, so I've gone for a new chain set, and I just picked this one up on eBay cheap. It's a used one. It's actually off a Victoria Pendleton bike, so it should be 1/8 of an inch because they tend to be single speeds. And if that goes on there, that's actually sitting not too bad. Not too bad. I could bring it in a little bit, and the way I can do that is to change the axle length. The removable rings on here and on similar cranksets can be undone using these bolts, and you can add a spacer if you've got enough length on the bolts behind the ring, or even shift this ring to the opposite side to bring that in a little bit. But with this crankset that I'm using, I can go ahead and put a smaller axle in there to bring the chain line in. But if I bolt this up now, I will be able to see what my chain line is and match that up to the rear. So I've got that crankset in place now. It's just bolted on this one side just so I can measure the chain line, and what I need to do is measure from the centre of this tube to the centre of this ring. So we're going to want to go around there to there, and my chain line is actually about 50mm on this, it's pretty much bang on 50mm. So I can check that against the rear, see if I need to make any adjustments. Okay, back to the rear. So front chain line is 50mm at the moment. Rear chain line is 135mm for the ORD divided by 2, which is 67.5. Let's take away roughly like 24mm, which gives me a chain line on the rear of about 44. So I actually need to bring that out a little bit, which is where the spacers come in. So I do that up so tight with my fingers that I can't undo it now. No. So I need to sort of add 6mm, is that? Yeah, I need to add about 6mm behind this spacer to actually bring it better in line. So if I get my, how thick are these rings? Each one of these rings is 3mm. So let's add those on the back. So now 67.5 minus 10, 11, 12. Yeah, that should be perfect. 67.5 minus 17 is 50. So that should give me a pretty much perfect chain line, which is really helpful with keeping everything straight. So this can go back on the bike now, and then we'll fit the chain and adjust the tensioner. Hopefully the light won't change again, but this is the last job to do now on this simple conversion, fitting the chain. I've gone with a 1/8 inch chain, it's KMC, and yeah, it should be the pretty much standard single speed style. You can get 532s as well, but right, first thing I need to do is check this. Right, this chain tensioner has a slight bit of adjustment on it here, which I need my Allen keys for, of course. Just put away. So you can just adjust this little, what would you call this? Spindle? Axle? I'm not sure what you'd call it. It's quite tight. Why is that so tight? But you can adjust it so it sits directly underneath the... Oh, it's tight. There we go. There we go, so it's directly in line with the sprocket. So normally what you would do on a single speed is, if it's got these horizontal dropouts, the long ones, find your point where the chain is going to connect, which actually on this one is in links, so that would actually be pretty good. There'd be a bit of slack in the chain, but the inner plate here matches the outer plate here, which seems pretty much perfect for this bike. But with the chain tensioner, I could actually have it this whole length that I've got here, and the amount of sag in that would be taken up by the chain tensioner, as I can probably demonstrate. So feed it through. Chain tensioner comes round, connect that together, and there we go. That chain tensioner has taken up all the tension in that chain, and you could actually ride it like that. I think I might take out a link or two just to make it a bit neater. Put the chain on. And then just ready to ride with a little clicky. Where's that clicking coming from? So if you watch the tensioner, it's not quite meshing with the chain. So I need to double check that, but boom, that is a single speed conversion. Let's say 99.5% done. Nice single speed, easy conversion, done. So what did that cost me? Let me just bring that up. I bought all these parts for not too much. I mean, the chain tensioner, which I actually need to check the pulley compatibility, because it doesn't say in the listing. I just assumed it was 1/8 inch. That chain tensioner cost me £15.54 delivered. The single speed cassette conversion kit, the little red one that you see, cost me a whole £10.95 delivered. The chain's only like a £4 chain, so that's all you would need, unless you decided to buy the crankset as well, which I managed to pick up that crankset for £12. So yeah, not too bad at all. It's a nice little conversion that you can do if you just want to cruise around on a retro mountain bike. It really is as simple as stripping off all that gearing, so taking off the shifters, the derailleurs. I took off the crankset and then putting all this stuff on, and as long as you work out the chain line properly, it should be a nice simple conversion, and I hope I explained those chain lines properly. But there we go, that's the Carrera Katmandu now as a single speed with the chain tensioner and everything working nicely, as long as you enjoy that tick of the chain tensioner. So I hope you like this little video of this single speed conversion. Plenty more where this comes from if you want to check the rest of the channel out. I've got myself a nice whiteboard now, so I can keep on top of all these projects that I've got to do. So keep watching, subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the next video.